Hey guys, so we're here for part 2 of doing this. So we're taking the words and then we're turning them into our chemical equations. So for this, zinc oxide is our first guy. So Zn and O. Zinc has a charge, let's get this down here, of +2. Oxide or oxygen has a charge of -2. So when we do the crisscross, we just get ZNO. And water, you guys all know hopefully what water is. And then on the other side, we have zinc hydroxide. So hydroxide is actually a polyatomic ion, and that polyatomic ion is OH, and it has a negative charge. Zinc, we know before, has a +2 charge. So when we write it down below here, we have zinc OH with a 2 after it, and that is a synthesis equation. Okay. So with this, we'll just erase all of that stuff now. Let's do the next 3 together. All right, so for our next one, we have aluminum oxide, which equals aluminum plus oxygen. So for aluminum oxide, that is going to be Al, oops, lowercase l, and oxide is going to be just O, so ALO. With that, we happen to know the charges on these things as well. So aluminum is a +3, and oxygen is a -2. So when we are crossing our charges, that 2 is going to cross down behind the aluminum. So we're going to have a subscript 2. And behind the O, we're going to have a subscript 3. And a little tip on Google Docs to get something to be a subscript, if you highlight it and then click Control, comma, that will make it a subscript. Okay, if you can't do it for your assignments, that's fine. Okay, so Al2O3 equals aluminum plus oxygen. So we know that aluminum is just Al, and we know that oxygen is O. Oops. However, if we scroll to the top, remember that if we have H, O, N, C, L, B, R, I, and F, those are Hunkelbriefs. We always see them in pairs in the nature. So right away after that O, oops, oh my gosh, what did I do? So we have to put a 2 subscript after it, okay? So now we have to start balancing. So on the left side, we have 2 ALs, and we have 1 on the other side. We have 3 O's on the left and 2 O's on the right. So the one that I see is the biggest problem is our O's. We have 3 and 2. So just kind of like what we did before, the easiest way for us to solve that problem is to put a 2 in front of our Al2O3. And then we're going to put a 3 in front of our O2. So now we have 6 on each side, okay? And then we have 4 total aluminums on the left. So in order to fix that, I'm just going to put a 4 in front of my aluminums, and then that's going to be a balanced equation. And this happens to actually be a type of equation that we call decomposition. So this is going to be our decomposition reaction because we have one thing breaking down into 2 things. Okay. All right, for our next one, we have silver oxide, which equals silver plus oxygen. So we know the charges for some of these things, right? All right, so I added in the charge for the silver. So we have silver 2 oxide. So that is going to change to AgO because we know that silver has a charge of a +2 because of the Roman numerals here. And then oxygen has a charge of -2. Okay, so those are going to balance out. And then on the other side, we have silver plus oxygen. So we have to remember that whenever we have an oxygen, it's always going to have that little 2 after it. Okay. So in order to balance this, we have 2 oxygens on the right side. So we're going to put a big 2 in front of the AgO and then a 2 in front of that Ag. So now we have 2 of everything on each side. And this is actually going to be a decomposition reaction as well, because we have one thing breaking down into 2 things. All right, so for our last one, we have iron oxide plus water equals iron hydroxide. So right away, iron to oxide. What do we know? We know the charges. So iron is going to have a charge of +2, oxygen is a charge of -2, and then water is water. Okay, so let's type those in. So iron is Fe, oxygen is O, and water, we all know, is H2O. So then we have iron 2 hydroxide. So the little hint that I gave you guys over here is hydroxide is OH. So it's actually a polyatomic ion. And hydroxide, once you guys look that up, you should have found that it is actually a -1 charge. So when we are typing that in, we have Fe that has a +2 charge. And then we have OH that comes after it that has a -1 charge. So there's actually going to be a subscript 2 after my OH. So now we need to make sure everything is balanced on each side. So our Fe's are balanced. Our Fe's are going to be balanced. Our oxygens, we have 2 on the left, and we also have 2 on the right because of that little subscript 2. And then our hydrogens are also balanced. So this equation is already balanced for us, which is really, really nice. And this is actually going to be a synthesis equation. Okay, so I hope that little tutorial helps. We are going to look at some more different types of equations later in the week.